Hey everybody, this is Joel Toppin here, and I got a package in the mail. It's Labyrinth, The Awakening 2010 to question mark. And for those of you that don't know, this is an expansion to Labyrinth, The War on Terror. The game design is by Trevor Bender, and of course it's based on Volko Ruhnke's very successful Labyrinth, which is just getting its third printing. I got an early copy of it as the developer, and I thought I'd just show you a little bit about what comes in it, what to expect. First of all, if you didn't see my pictures on Twitter, the third edition of Labyrinth comes in a nice, real thick box. It's the larger style box that you see like with the coin games. So there's more depth in the box, and that'll allow you to accommodate the expansion Labyrinth: The Awakening. Now, Labyrinth: The Awakening comes in a Ziploc package, and I've already opened mine up, and I know it's a bit unusual. Most of my box opening videos, I haven't already opened up the package. Well, this one I've opened it up, punched it, and started playing with it, and decided I should probably do a video. So here, I'm just going to show you the contents of what to expect in Labyrinth: The Awakening, the 2010 to question mark. Okay, first of all, the rule book is in semi-gloss format. It's those really great semi-gloss. I'm not a big fan of glossy rule books. This is semi-gloss. Love it. It's in color, and the rules are what, I think like 5 or 6, maybe 6 pages of rules for the expansion. So there's not a lot in terms of extra reading that you'll need to do, but there are some substantial changes in Labyrinth: The Awakening. One of the big changes is the awakening and reaction chits, which kind of, well, they really change up the game a bit. So if you're looking for a new experience with Labyrinth, this is the ticket. This is what you're going to want. Okay, there's some really, really neat stuff in here. So this is your rule book. It's got scenario information in here as well, solitaire information, and also there is a jihadist bot. So if you want to play, there's a US bot and a jihadist bot. So if you want to play both sides, you can actually do that. The original Labyrinth only had the ability to play the US solitaire, and so now that you can play the jihadist side against an automated AI for the United States. So there's examples of play in here. Most of the rule book is really examples of play, designer notes, and then you finally have the scenarios here at page 15. And so you have a couple different scenarios. Just kind of zoom in here a little bit. You have the Awakening, which is your basically like the Let's Roll scenario. You have Arab Spring, which uses something like a stacked deck. That way, events that happen earlier in the time period will occur earlier in the deck, and those that occur later in the time period occur later in the deck. This is my favorite. From playtesting, this was my favorite scenario to play. Just like there was a You Can Call Me Al in the Labyrinth game, where the idea is that what if Al Gore won the 2000 election? This one here is well, what happens if Mitt Romney wins the election in 2012? And so you have an alternate scenario there. So we got 3 scenarios thus far. Then you have Status of Forces Agreement, a 2011 scenario. And then there is Assad Alone, 2012. There is Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, the ISIL 2014 scenario. And finally, a campaign game. Now, the campaign game combines the deck of Labyrinth with Labyrinth: The Awakening. So that's the one I've actually got on the table right now that I'm toying around with, because I actually never played that one in the playtesting. Playtesting, I pretty much focused on the Awakening stuff and never really combined the two. So there we go. That's there's some optional rules in here. You got I wish they had put my credit in here, but that was actually my article in C3I issue number 25, Zakat and the Strong Horse. It's kind of like a Desperate Times mechanic to kind of soften some of the heavy blows of fortune in the game. And then the Heroic Alerts is also an optional rule from C3I. They included it in here, and they also included the counters for it, which is nice. There is a variable bot difficulty variant for the Solitaire game, and then the balance of the rulebook playbook is designer notes. There's a card list in the back, glossary and index, and rules of thumb for Labyrinth and the Awakening. So this is basically your core changes in a nutshell. There's more to it than this, but this is the meat and potatoes of it. So you have that in the game. You have a full sheet of counters that we'll look at in just a moment. This doesn't come with it. Here we go. There are some play aids that come in Labyrinth the Awakening. There is, first of all, this is the new Solitaire Flowcharts. These have been enhanced dramatically from the first edition of Labyrinth. They're really, really nice. Really nice charts. On the back side, you have more charts for Labyrinth the Awakening. There are some new mechanics in Labyrinth the Awakening, so these are not solitaire charts back here. These are new mechanics for the Awakening expansion. And then the back side was just the solitaire stuff. There's a second one of these that has the solitaire information for playing against an automated US player. So there's your alert flow charts and everything for the United States, and then on the back side there's more charts for the United States bot. The United States bot's a little bit more sophisticated. There's more things to consider than with the jihadist bot. So now you can play it solitaire. Very cool. So you got two sets. You got two sets of charts in here, the rule book, and then you have some counters that I've already traded. So these are the event counters for Labyrinth the Awakening, and color matching wise, they are very, very close to the first printing of Labyrinth. Very close. The green ones, I would suppose, are probably the ones that match least well in my eyes. It's almost more apparent on the screen than they are off camera. Off camera, I can only tell slight difference between this and the other. They match up pretty good. So you have some event markers that are going to come with it. And then there's some rules in Labyrinth the Awakening where the jihadists can establish a caliphate. And so you have a caliphate capital marker and then caliphate country markers. You have a bunch of reaction markers that are two-sided. Reaction 1 on one side, reaction 2 on the other. And then you have awakening markers. And basically how these are going to function is they either help or they impede war of ideas. And they either help or impede jihad in a country. So that's what awakening and reaction markers do. And they're placed by events. There are a lot of events in the deck that will place these two kind of markers down. And so that's some of the big new things in Labyrinth the Awakening. There's also some markers for gray events that I've just mixed in with the original game's markers. There's a marker for truce and some lapsing markers that you can just put down, and I'll show you why these are included in just a moment. So those are the markers. Oh, and Civil War markers. I put them in with my regime change markers in the tray here. But Civil War is a lot like regime change, where you can auto-recruit in them. So the markers kind of have a similar feel to them as to the regime change markers. So that's what you got. Civil War markers, event markers, caliphate markers, reaction and awakening markers. Last but not least, you also have a bunch of tiles in the game. Iran can turn into an actual Muslim country in the game. So in Labyrinth the Awakening, what's going to happen is you'll take this marker and it will begin the game superimposed on the map here. Get the focus there. So it's in this state, it's just like it is on the printed edition. There is an event where you can flip it over, and now it becomes a Muslim country like any other Muslim country in the game. And you can do regime change in it. Troops can end up in there. Cells can end up in there. And of course, it's got alignment and governance that will need to be tracked. So that's something new in the game. You also have one of these for Syria. And the only difference in the Syria tile is the addition of the skull and bones, indicating that weapons of mass destruction are acquired through Syria via an event. Same thing goes with Iran. That's why Iran has skull and bones on it too. So those are some new tiles, and I don't have these on the map yet because it hasn't been triggered yet. We have some end of turn markers that basically you can, there's two of them, so you can just put these in front of yourself, or you can actually, you know, lay it on the map like so, because there are some different things at the end of the turn that basically cause the what's printed on your map to be superseded by this. So and then there's a shortcut on the back for polarization, tells you about what polarization is. It's also in your charts, but it's nice to have it printed on these tiles. So you got two of these tiles for a sequence of play. Sorry about the glare. What else do we have here? We have Iran, we have Syria. Oh, we have an off-map box. This is a notional country that is not portrayed by any of the spaces in Labyrinth, and it's a place that U.S. troops can end up there. So you have an off-map box, and you could just, you know, stick that anywhere, and troops can end up there via some events in the Awakening. Finally, the last two, and I've already got these on the board because I'm just tinkering around with the campaign scenario, and these are two new countries that are portrayed by tiles. You have Nigeria, which is considered adjacent to Mali, Sudan, Kenya, Tanzania. So I like to put these two tiles, Mali and Nigeria, I like to put them in the lapsing events box, and then the expansion comes with all those lapsing counters, and what we can do with those is just lay, you know, lapsing events on the table, put the counter on top of it, and there you go. No harm, no foul. So that's what I like to do with these. Nigeria is a non-Muslim country that has poor governance, but there is a way in which it can flip over and become a Muslim country, and it's an oil-producing country, 2 resources, and then in that case, it's you know, you can send troops in there. There can be jihad there, and so forth. I gotta, you know, buck up on the rules. It's been a while since I played, but if I remember right, what triggers the flip around is if a plot goes off in non-Muslim Nigeria, that's what can flip it over to become Muslim Nigeria, and so forth. Mali is a Muslim country, and it's just one-sided. So that's what you're going to get in the counter sheet. Last, let's look at the cards real quick. Lastly, we have the cards for the Awakening, and they look just like Labyrinth, the original game, only with a brown background. So these are the new cards to the game. There are some cards that are identical to Labyrinth. For example, I just drew one off the top here. Pirates is one of the few that is changed very, very little. There's some new changes to the text down here. One question you might ask is, why did you go with a different color? This is something we talked about at length. The concern was that if we tried to have the backs of these cards match those cards, that there would be enough imperfection between it as to make it annoying to the player. The idea was, well, what if you wanted to, you know, shuffle them in together and make a totally mixed deck? And I don't know, I just didn't feel like that was a very good idea at all. So we toyed around with the idea of having a different background, but we really like the soldier here. So we decided to go with a brown background, and that way you can tell the two decks apart, and it makes it easier, you know, for sorting your game. If you didn't want to combine the two, if you didn't want to do the campaign game, you just want to do the later period, you could just easy to find the deck. That way you're not having to borrow certain cards from this deck and mix it in with the new cards. It would just, I like the idea of having a whole new deck with its own background. So that's the story there. Let's see a couple more of these. You'll see there's symbols now in the upper right hand corners of some of these cards, and that is explained in the rules, but some of it is for the scenario that uses a semi-stacked deck. The AK-47 cards go at the bottom half, and then the cards with the guy waving a flag go at the top of the deck, and then the cards that have the little minaret in the upper right-hand corner are Caliphate cards. They are cards that interact with the Caliphate rules in the game. So those are the cards. You know what? I did forget a couple of counters here. Let me tell you about these real quick. There's also some new wooden pieces. You have, I think, 15 blue cylinders that are not embossed. There's no need to have them embossed. They represent forces loyal to the United States player. They're like militia forces. And so they needed to be portrayed in some way. We experimented with different colors. We decided that blue worked best, and that they should be portrayed as cylinders because they're basically local forces, but they're loyal to the U.S. player. And that's why they're blue. There's also 5 new jihadist cells that can come into play in addition to the 15 already in the game by way of a certain event. Like I said, there are some markers that interact with a special rule, an optional rule for the solitaire game. And so that's what these particular markers are for. And there is a new set of terror plot markers. These are markers, they get drawn a lot, they get handled as much as any other piece in the game, and so you get an extra set of WMD and terror plot markers for use if yours are wearing out. So, okay, so that's Labyrinth, the Awakening. It looks really nice on the table, and hope you enjoy the video, and that's what comes inside the box.